Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Timeless Romance Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more dark aristocratic romance, public reckonings, and stories where humiliation turns into devotion. Now let's begin. The Great Hall of Courtfall Palace had never been kind to women without protection. Marble floors reflected candlelight and judgment in equal measure. Nobles lined the walls in silks and jewels, whispering behind fans, eyes sharp with curiosity and cruelty. This was a place where reputations were weighed, measured, and destroyed before dessert. Elara Whitcomb stood at the edge of it all, hands folded neatly before her, spine straight, expression calm. She had learned long ago that fear was a luxury she could not afford. "State your name," the court herald announced. "Elara Whitcomb," she said clearly. A murmur rippled through the room. No title, no estate, no powerful family standing behind her. Just a woman summoned to court at the personal request of the Duke of Raventon. And he was already watching her. Duke Adrian Blackwood sat on the raised dais beside the Queen's empty throne, dressed in black and silver, his expression carved from control. Tall, immaculate, untouchable. The most feared duke in the realm. The man who had once promised Elara everything, and then taken it all away. "So," Adrian said coolly, his voice carrying across the hall, "this is the woman who claimed she was wronged." Elara lifted her chin. "I claim only the truth, Your Grace." A few nobles scoffed. Adrian leaned back slightly, one gloved hand resting on the arm of his chair. "You came to my estate uninvited. You stayed longer than appropriate. And now you stand in my court pretending to be a victim." Her pulse remained steady. "I came because you summoned me," she replied. "I stayed because you asked me to." Gasps fluttered like startled birds. Adrian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "You misunderstand," he said smoothly. "I never asked you to stay. You were a guest. Nothing more." A lie. And they both knew it. Elara felt the old ache rise in her chest, but she refused to let it show. "Then why," she asked calmly, "did you give me your mother's ring?" The hall went silent. Adrian stood. Slowly, deliberately. "You are treading dangerous ground," he warned. "You led me there," she said quietly. A court lady laughed softly. "This is absurd. Does she truly believe she was anything more than a convenience?" Adrian didn't stop her. That was the cruelty of it. He let them laugh. "Explain yourself," the Queen's steward demanded. Adrian turned back to the court. "This woman was a companion at my estate. Nothing more. Any affection she imagined was her own invention." Elara swallowed. So this was how he intended to end it. Publicly. Decisively. Humiliating her so thoroughly no one would ever question his version of events. She felt eyes on her. Pitying, mocking, curious. "Do you deny," she asked, voice steady despite the tremor in her heart, "that you promised to marry me?" Adrian's eyes flashed. "I deny," he said coldly, "that I ever intended such a thing." The word struck harder than any slap. A nobleman muttered. "Ambitious women always mistake attention for commitment." Another added. "She should be grateful he tolerated her at all." Elara breathed in slowly. Then she spoke. "I did not come here to beg," she said. "Nor to accuse. I came because I was ordered to." Adrian frowned. Ordered by whom? Before she could answer, the great doors of the hall opened. Every head turned. A priest entered, elderly, dignified, carrying a sealed document and a look of grave resolve. "I apologize for the interruption," the priest said, bowing to the court. "But I was instructed to deliver this matter publicly." Adrian stiffened. "You were instructed by whom?" the steward demanded. The priest's gaze moved. Past the nobles, past the duke, and settled on Elara. "By her grace," he said. The court erupted. Adrian stared at him. "That is not possible." The priest cleared his throat. 5 years ago, a private marriage ceremony was performed at Blackwood Chapel. Witnessed. Recorded. Sealed under ecclesiastical law. Elara's heart pounded. Adrian took a step forward. "You are mistaken." "I am not," the priest replied calmly. The marriage was conducted in haste at the request of the groom, who feared political interference. Silence swallowed the hall. "The groom," the priest continued, was Duke Adrian Blackwood. Gasps, whispers, shocked laughter. Adrian's face drained of color. And the bride, the priest said, turning fully to Alara, was Lady Alara Blackwood. The world tilted. Impossible, someone whispered. Adrian shook his head slowly. That ceremony was never. You signed the registry, the priest interrupted gently. You gave her your mother's ring. You swore vows before God. Adrian's voice dropped. It was never meant to stand. The priest's eyes hardened. God does not recognize intentions, only vows. He turned to Alara and bowed deeply. Forgive me, Your Grace. The words echoed. Your Grace. Alara felt tears burn, but she held them back. She turned to Adrian. You humiliated me, she said quietly. You let them tear me apart. And all the while I was already your wife. Adrian's voice broke. I was trying to protect you. By denying me? She asked. By making me nothing? The court watched breathless. You chose power over me, Alara continued. And today you chose cruelty. Adrian sank back into his chair. I thought, he said hoarsely, that if no one knew if you stayed hidden, they couldn't use you against me. And instead, she said, you used me against myself. The Queen's steward cleared his throat. If the marriage is valid, then the lady stands as Duchess of Raventon. Every noble in the room bowed. Slowly, reluctantly, unavoidably, Adrian stood again, this time unsteady. Alara, he said, stepping toward her. Look at me. She did. And for the first time she saw not a duke, but a man who had lost control of the narrative he'd built. I never stopped loving you, he said. That, she replied, is not the same as choosing me. The priest spoke again. The Duchess has every right to claim her title, and every right to reject the Duke. A hush fell. All eyes turned to Alara. Power settled on her shoulders. Unexpected. Heavy, real. She looked at Adrian. You humiliated me at court, she said. Now you will listen. He nodded. Anything. I will not be hidden, she said. I will not be silenced. And I will not be denied again. You won't be, he promised. She studied him for a long moment. Then kneel, she said. Gasps rang out. Adrian Blackwood, the most powerful duke in the realm, went to one knee before his wife. I humiliated you, he said, voice breaking. And I was wrong. Forgive me. Alara stepped forward. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Rise, she said softly. And do better. He stood, this time beside her. The court bowed again. Lower. Deeper. And as Alara walked from the hall, not behind the Duke but with him, she understood something at last. She had not gained power through his love. She had gained it by surviving without it. And now he would have to earn her all over again. The doors of the great hall closed behind them with a sound like judgment deferred. Outside, the palace corridors were quieter. Still grand, still watched, but no longer hostile. Courtiers lingered at a careful distance, whispers chasing Alara's steps as though they dared not follow too closely. Your Grace, someone murmured as she passed. The title felt unreal on her tongue. Heavy. Earned through pain rather than ceremony. Adrian walked beside her in silence. Not ahead. Not behind. Beside. It was the first time he had ever done so. When they reached the private solar reserved for the Duke of Raventon, Adrian dismissed the guards with a single gesture. The door shut. The lock turned. Only then did he speak. I deserve every ounce of your anger, he said quietly. And more. Alara removed her gloves with deliberate calm, placing them on the table as though this were a meeting of state rather than the reckoning of a marriage resurrected. You deserve honesty, she replied. At last. He nodded. Then I will give it. She turned to face him fully. Why did you really do it? He didn't pretend not to understand. Why humiliate me? She continued. Why let them believe I was delusional? Why erase me when I was already yours? Adrian exhaled slowly, as if preparing to surrender something vital. My family has enemies, he said. Old ones. Patient ones. They do not strike openly. They leverage wives, children, secrets. And I was a liability, Alara said flatly. Yes, he admitted. And I hated myself for it. Her jaw tightened. So you hid me. And when hiding wasn't enough, you destroyed my credibility. I thought, he said hoarsely, that if they believed you meant nothing to me, you would be safe. And did it work? She asked. No, he said immediately. It only made me cruel. Silence stretched between them, thick with all the words that had waited 5 years to be spoken. You left me alone, Ilara said. With no protection, no title, no name. And when I was summoned today, I believed you intended to finish what you started. I intended to end a lie, he said. I just didn't know how to do it without losing you. She laughed once, soft, bitter. You lost me the moment you chose fear over faith. He lowered his head. I know. The truth of that settled between them like ash. You don't get absolution today, she said quietly. You don't get gratitude. And you do not get my forgiveness simply because the court now bows. I won't ask for it, Adrian replied. Only the chance to earn it. She studied him for a long moment. Then understand this, Ilara said. I am not returning to Raventon as a shadow. I will hold my title. I will speak when I choose. And if anyone dares question my place, they answer to me, Adrian said. No, she corrected. They answer to us. Something changed in his expression then. Not relief. Respect. Agreed, he said. That evening the palace buzzed with rumor. The duke's wife. The hidden duchess. The priest's revelation. Ilara stood before a mirror in chambers newly assigned to her, ducal chambers. The servants moved carefully, reverently, as though afraid to startle her. A maid adjusted her hair. Another laid out jewels that once would have felt like costume. Now they felt like armor. When Adrian entered, he stopped short. Not because she was adorned, but because she stood straighter than he remembered. Stronger. No longer waiting to be chosen. You look, he stopped himself. Exactly as you should. She met his gaze in the mirror. Do not mistake composure for surrender. I wouldn't dare. Later, when the palace finally slept, they stood on the balcony overlooking the city. You could leave, Adrian said suddenly. Take your title. Live separately. I would not contest it. She turned to him slowly. Is that what you want? No, he said honestly. But it is what you deserve if you choose it. The sincerity disarmed her more than any plea could have. I will stay, Ilara said at last. For now. His breath released shakily. But this marriage, she continued, will be rebuilt on my terms. Name them. No lies, she said. No secrecy. No sacrificing me for strategy. He nodded. Agreed. And one more thing, she added. Yes. If you ever humiliate me again, she said softly, I will not survive it quietly. His eyes darkened. You won't have to. Days passed. Then weeks. Ilara learned what it meant to exist openly as Duchess of Raventon. Invitations arrived. Alliances shifted. Women who once dismissed her now curtsied deeply. Adrian never corrected them. He didn't need to. The way he deferred to her in council. The way he waited for her opinion before speaking. The way his hand found hers instinctively in public spaces. Those things spoke louder than declarations. One afternoon, as they reviewed correspondence together, Ilara paused. You're letting me see everything, she noted. Yes. No filtering. None. She nodded slowly. Good. That night, as rain tapped softly against the windows, Ilara found Adrian awake beside her. You're thinking too loudly, she said. I'm wondering how close I came to losing you forever. She turned toward him. You did lose me. His brow furrowed. You lost the woman who waited, she said. You are earning the woman who stands. He reached for her hand, not possessive, not pleading, present. I will spend the rest of my life proving worthy of her, he said. Ilara studied his face. The man who had broken her, yes, but also the man kneeling at her feet in full view of the court. Then start now, she said. He leaned in, not urgently, not desperately, but with reverence. When he kissed her, it was different than before. Not ownership. Recognition. Love this time did not arrive as passion. It arrived as accountability, as consistency, as a duke who had learned that power meant nothing without the courage to stand beside the woman he loved.